over at TAB, and thank you for joining me here today for Out-of-Home Office Hours. It is a new series of webinars that we're going to be doing focused on training. Recently we had a survey that went out about TAB, and we, in the survey, asked our members, what we all liked about TAB, what needed some improvement, and training was one of the things that was on the list of things that needed improvement. And the way I look at it over here, by the way, I'm a marketing specialist over here at TAB. I do work with Larry, and I work with Kim, our new president, to help create materials and presentations and tools and everything available to help all of our members with the use of ratings, TAB out-of-home ratings. And in the survey, there were some holes in training. And the way I look at it is that that's probably because of three reasons, or one of three reasons, or maybe all three reasons. But it's either that our members aren't aware of some of the tools that are available, and so there is training out there that our members aren't aware of. It could be that there isn't enough materials and possibilities for training, or it could be that we don't like what's there. So I think with this first one, what I'd like to do is go through some of the basics of the rating system. This will be very much an introductory presentation to the rating system itself, just start at square one. But I'm also going to go into some of the tools and materials and everything that's available to you as a member through our website, through our YouTube page, and elsewhere. So most of this presentation, as I said, it will be based on an introductory presentation that I give to all of our new members and to anybody who would like to see that. I think when we talk about training, these webinars are great, everything that's on the website's great, but a big tool that everyone needs to be aware of, all of our members need to be aware of, is that myself, Larry, all of our research team here, we're always here for you guys. If you ever have questions, if you ever need private sessions, if you ever need to do a private web meeting that covers this information, more detailed information on the research, more detailed information on a particular system or ADS and things like that, that's what we're here for. So that's another sort of large part of all of this, is that we need to make ourselves more available, and we need to spread the word that we are available to help. I'm also going to go through the ADS system and the reach and frequency module as well at the end of this. So we do have the opportunity to ask questions. I ask that you just ask those in the questions box, and I will be addressing the ones I can at the end of the presentation. We don't have any of our research guys in here with us, but myself and Larry will do our best with those, and any other questions we'll be able to get to them and get back to you right away with. Okay? So one of the best places to start when we start talking about ratings is to just give a brief overview of TAB itself, because it's important in a few ways. So first, we were established in 1933, and for most of our time here at TAB, we have been tasked with producing a measure that everyone on the phone knows as DEC, Daily Effective Circulation. And up until a few years ago, that's what we as an organization were responsible for, auditing those numbers, collecting those numbers, distributing those numbers, etc. We are a not-for-profit membership organization comprised of advertisers, ad agencies, and out-of-home media companies. And our board of directors is required to have a advertiser and agency majority vote. So it's a buyer-side majority vote that's required on our board of directors. Right now, ESPN's Mary Sheehan is serving as our chairman of the board. Why is that important? Because I'm going to touch on the research. I'm going to show you some of the tools available online that have to do with the research. I'm not going to go into depth about the research, but it is very important for yourself to know and for all of your clients to know, whether you're an out-of-home media company and you need all of your agency and all of your local buyers and local clients to know, or whether you're in an agency and you need your clients to know. It is important that the word is out there that every piece of this rating system has been pre-vetted by the buyers before it went in. So there's nothing in the rating system that a bunch of people in an out-of-home media companies got together and decided this would be great for us, and so we'll throw that in and we'll call that media measurement. That cannot happen with the way that we are structured. So from the ground up, we're primed to offer a very open and accountable rating system. So briefly, I touched on this already, but the agenda here is we're going to talk a little bit about why TAB out-of-home ratings. The research program I'm going to touch on. I'm going to show you some things on the website along with some other tools, and then we're going to talk about what the rating system is bringing to out-of-home. So why out-of-home ratings? Everybody in the industry right now is in a different phase in their transition to ratings. Some people out there are still using circulation numbers. This is an important time, I think, to state this to everyone out there. TAB no longer produces DEC. So every DEC number that is being used right now is not audited or confirmed by any organization in America. The best DEC you could be using is a couple years old, and that did come from TAB. But everyone in the buying community, everyone who's selling, everyone needs to understand that there are no such things as real or proper DECs anymore. So with that said, what was wrong with DEC? I know they're not valid or published anymore, but what was wrong with that number? And the truth is, nothing was wrong with the number of DEC. DEC was a very good measure of what it measured, which was daily effective circulation, which is, in other words, people passing on segments of road that have an opportunity to see advertising. Why is that not enough? Because in every other media, they don't measure their media that way. They have audience measures and audience metrics. So they talk about number of people of different demographics. They talk about reach and frequency. They talk about different people in different markets. It's not just general passing numbers. So they have a much better, or they had a much better understanding of who the audiences were viewing advertising, as opposed to just bulk numbers of people passing on segments of road throughout the country. Now, like I said, it was a very good number for what it was. It's very accurate. TAB has always taken pride in producing very accurate and accountable numbers for circulation. It was, sort of global. I mean, the way a DEC is measured in Seattle is the exact same way a DEC is measured in Miami. So it's very easy to compare DECs across the country. And it ultimately served as a great building block from which we could build the rating system, which I'll go into in a little bit. But the major problem, as I mentioned before, is that DECs were just a different language, and planners couldn't consider out-of-home when setting media goals. So when I say here that out-of-home was a below-the-line medium, I mean that literally. There's actually, when planning, there's a line of strategy levels of planning where you're putting large amounts of dollars into different buckets, into different media types to allocate a client's media budget based on, a lot of times based on GRPs. And out-of-home simply wasn't considered there. If you have a planner that really likes out-of-home, they could set aside some money. You could, find different ways into the media plan in other ways. But in terms of from the top, from the start, how are we gauging audiences and where are our dollars going in real media terms, that simply wasn't an option. So buyers couldn't gauge audiences being delivered. And ultimately, out-of-home lacked the accountability of other media. It's not just a question of how are, guys and gals in New York doing national planning. It's also a question of, on the very local side of simply not being able to describe in any sort of detail the people that are viewing advertising and how they could work for any business that's purchasing advertising. So a rating system was needed here. So that brings us to the research program. Now, the thing about out-of-home, and the reason why it probably took us longer as an industry to get here than any other ones, is because out-of-home media research is not simple survey research. There are a lot of media types out there that can take a very small sample size. I think television is a great example of this. There's about 20,000 households that have anything to do with any rating on any television across the country, and extrapolate those demographics, extrapolate every piece of information on there. We need detailed information along every line of any different demographic, any input as it goes into our reach and frequency system on a unit-by-unit basis. So we have a lot more work to do to get to some of the basics of audience measurement, including demographics, our visibility research, and reach and frequency. And to do that, we work with many different research partners, and we also did it in a very smart way, in a modular way that allows us to add new inventory types. For example, we're in the process of adding transit right now. We've had several updates to digital, the first incorporating actual spots ratings, and then the second accounting for dwell time properly, as other digital media do. It allows us to improve any different segment here. If we have a better visibility model, we can go ahead and plug and play. We could take or add to the old visibility model and plug it back in, and it's all built on, like I said, the circulation information that we have developed an expertise in collecting and calculating for many years now. So it's everything past circulation we could think of as a refinement of that circulation. So our understanding of where people are originating in a market and where they're going to, and the frequency of those trips, allows us to produce a reach and frequencies model that actually works, as opposed to the old model that was very simple and just sort of basic arithmetic that, it would give you all your reach on the first day, and then after that, just the frequency grow. Obviously, we know that that's not how reach and frequency works. It allows us to, our understanding of the demographics of the different people passing on individual segments of road allows us to refine the circulation, and that now we know the demographics of those that are on those different segments of road. Visibility research allows us to actually refine based on different format, details and constraints, the actual number of people likely to see advertising instead of just an opportunity to see. One of the problems with circulation itself and out of home itself is that we have so many different types of advertising placed in so many different places that with a DEC, all of them can appear the same. It's very easy to ignore real-world constraints that actually change the way people interact with advertising. So, we talked a little bit about DEC and what needed to change. One of the major things is that your 14 by 48, bulletin that's set on the right side of the road with a perfect read is getting the same DEC as a bus bench that's a mile from the left side of the road, angled away from the road. Because on paper, based on what DEC measures, they should get the same. The people on that segment of road that have an opportunity to see both of those ads are the same. However, based on our visibility research, we know that the frequency with which they actually engage with that advertising is very different. So we're able to quantify value there in that case. So here is, I think, a good place to jump away and talk about some of the tools available on tabonline.com. Because we have a whole section devoted to research that I encourage everybody to go through. But we have other stuff available as well. So our research section is here. We have all of our basics of the research in printable and downloadable one sheets, including one on transit, including one on ratings 2.0, and this is the basic one here. So you could view them right there. You could also download. I would encourage everybody to go through these. I think these are very helpful. They're also great to just print out and just have some with you. If you're talking with a client a little bit about some details of the rating system, and they have a question about maybe they're okay with everything you've said, except for they want to know a little bit more about the actual factors of visibility adjustments, you could pull out this one, for example, and talk a little bit about how different things like size and distance and side of the road and things like that impact noting, etc. So that's our research section. We also have a whole new section on transit right now because we're just releasing transit that includes things like frequently asked questions, the transit glossary, the transit one sheet, and the bus format names. This was a major point of change for the industry, is actually standardizing these. We also have, in our intelligence section, we have some basic guides and things here. We also have a lot of videos. We have our metric series here that are also great to use if you just want to have a printable form of some of the vocabulary available, some basic utilization of demographic data, pointers, things like that. So some of these things are relatively new. Some of these things you've probably seen before. But yeah, really dig into the website. There's a lot of great stuff there. And also we have a YouTube page as well. It's our user is TAB Online NYC, and we have this video. This is actually being recorded. This will be up there if you want to see this again. But also we have a lot of different training videos, transit ratings implementation here, using demographics, et cetera, et cetera. So please check that out as well. You'll see a lot of the videos from our previous conference up as well. And let's see, we have our basics video here. This is actually a great video that we put together that explains some of the basics of the rating system as well. If you have people who are kind of curious about ratings and want to understand what they mean and things like that, this is a good place to start if they just have time to watch a 3 or 4 minute video, etc. All right, so I will also take any questions that you have regarding what's available on the website or what else you would like to see on the website. The big thing with training, the major focus has been the out-of-home professional training curriculum. We have obviously the e-learning that was updated, and we have the training curriculum as well with instructor-led training materials that allow you to sort of allows trainers in your organization to have materials that allow them to train other people in the organization on ratings. And these are just things that, you know, we talk about when they're released and they're announced and everything. And when we updated them recently, we added one for transit advertising. But after that, we sort of don't really talk about it a lot. We have a lot of stuff on our plate. We're always releasing and doing new things. We're always talking about the newest things. But hopefully in these out-of-home office hours and in other, you know, keeping tabs, our regular email communication, we can bring back and remind people about a lot of the things that are there, because I think that what we have available is very good. I think that the numbers on people using these things are not as high as we would like them. And I think part of that is just awareness. Part of that is just knowing that we have, you know, these materials that include a facilitator's guide, a participant's guide, and even PowerPoint slides on the different pieces of the rating system and training on use and understanding the basics of them. So yeah, please check that out. The training is password protected, so if you don't have a username and a login, it's the same one that you would use for the ADS, the audience delivery system. If you don't have that, please contact Velvet at vross, VROSS, at tabonline.com to get that. And that way we can hopefully get that into the hands of more people so that they can start training and training others in their organization. But anyway, those are just some of the different materials and things available. Like I said, please, give me any questions you have about that. Jump back into here. All right, excellent. All right, so we talked a little bit about why we needed ratings. I'm sure that's something that we're all on board with at this point, if you're on, but it's good to remind ourselves, I think. But let's talk about what we have now and what it's bringing to the value proposition of out-of-home advertising. So now we have impressions, and it's important to understand the distinction between our impressions and other impressions. Ours are likelihood to see impressions. They're actually measures of people noting advertising, not just having an opportunity to see advertising. We have the ability to make distinctions between the total impressions that advertising is receiving as well as in-market impressions. And in-market impressions, aren't usually to be used by themselves, but they're very important in the next thing that we have now, which is rating points and the calculation of rating points. A rating point is defined as an in-market impression divided by the population of that market. So before TV out-of-home ratings, any approximation of it, of rating points were way off in a lot of ways. One of them was that we weren't basing those on any sort of standard media market, so they really didn't mean anything outside of our own industry. The other was that our circulation numbers could not make distinctions between people that were coming from within the market and seeing advertising and those that were not. We have a true reach and frequency system that I touched on, and all of this is based in the DMA, CBSA, or county level. These are standard media markets, and it's important to note that every piece of ratings data in the rating system is the standard market is a part of it, except for total impressions. So we really shouldn't brush this aside and sort of not really think about the media markets that we're considering, because it's absolutely integral to every piece of ratings data except for total impressions. But they're also very important. They're extremely important in local media and things like that. But we should just keep that in mind. Now we also have target demographics based on age, sex, race, ethnicity, and household income. And all of the ratings, once again, are real commercial audiences based on people who see advertising. So it's also important for all of us to just remind ourselves that there isn't anything in the rating system that hasn't had visibility accounted for. Everything is our likelihood to see measures. They're not opportunity to see measures. Okay. So I touched on standard market definitions. This is sort of a sample. This is Atlanta. You could see in the purple the Atlanta CBSA, and in the blue the Atlanta DMA. I think it's important to note, I'm going to remind us of this whenever I go into the ADS system, but it's important for us to note that just because, let's say we're in Atlanta and an advertiser only wants advertising in Clayton, that's okay. We shouldn't just go into the system and pull based on the Clayton county lines, because it's only going to be giving us impressions and ratings from people that live in Clayton. The value of Clayton or Bolton or any of the center sort of county lines is the fact that people come from all over to go to work there or to play there or shop there, etc. So the increased impressions and increased desirability of these advertising is based on just how the large area that they serve. So we want to ultimately choose the standard market definition that's comparable to the media that we're competing against. If we are selling or buying on the behalf of someone in television, we should really think about using or we should just use the DMA, and we could at the end of the process select based on geography there. So this is a sample of what we are looking at. If we're a planner, we can see these different numbers on our planning software. This is from Nielsen IMS, and this is important because we're actually now able to see, how much, if I was going to do 100 weekly GRPs, how much would that cost me? How many panels would that take? This is all important in having an idea of how much money we need to set aside as a planner to give to a buyer to go and execute a buy. Now, it will be the buyer's job to perform to at least this specification, but hopefully outperform it and hopefully optimize it and exceed these market average goals. But it's something that we were never able to do before, which is having the ability to, at a glance, see in a ballpark way just what out of home can do for me in a given market for a given cost. And this is sort of the same point here. We can see this little tool in Telmar that allows us to mix media, and the big selling point here is in columns 2 and 3. For years and years, planners could see the impact of television and the impact of mixing television with radio, and the control here is our total cost. We have about $100,000 here, and you could see, just if we're looking at columns 1 and 4, we could see the reason why they mix media, because we could see our reach goes up, our frequency is about the same, but our GRPs go up by 30, our CPM comes down by about $5 here. So these are all optimal mixes here, both of these. But this is a very good reason to not spend all of your money in just one medium. But what they could never see was, how can a mix of TV and outdoor do? And we could see even more reasons. Now, this is obviously just one example of a particular demographic in a particular market, but we could see, almost, over doubling GRPs, halving our CPMs here. There are huge reasons to, just based on metrics alone, to be considering and buying out of home, and they were just never, just invisible before. So it's important for us to also offer all of everything that we are looking and showing based on these lines, so that people can make these distinctions and make these these value judgments based on metrics as well, along with all the other reasons to buy out of home, which I'll touch on in a second. Because ultimately, one of the goals, I think, with ratings is a little bit of a shift for the industry, which is not simply competing with ourselves for ad dollars, but with other local media. And having the metrics that allow us to do that is one part of it. It's not everything, but it is definitely a part of it. Because we could see that we still are taking up a pretty small part of the local ad dollar pie here. I think this was in 2010. I think right now it's like about 5%, right, Larry? I think it's crept up, but we want that to keep going up because there are still media that are being, overbought. We have print and radio over here taking 2 and 3 times as much of the local ad dollar, from us and or as us, and there's really no reason for that. I mean, based on numbers, based on market averages, based on CPMs, there's no real clear reason that's been that way, except for our in part our inability to express the audience as being delivered by our medium. So antiquated techniques need to be replaced with more relevant ones. And ultimately, we're trying to move away from, and this is possible even if you're using impressions instead of a DEC number. This is a wider change than simply replacing one number on a spreadsheet with another. We're moving from just simply selling billboard real estate, or transit shelter real estate, or to selling actual impressions from a target audience. So we have new questions that we can ask, and the reason we can ask them is because now we could do something with the answers. In the past, if we asked which demographic would you like to reach, there would be some very well-meaning GM somewhere saying this is a great board for this particular set of people, but there was no numbers or any research behind it that could back that up. How many people do you want to reach and how often, and what other media being considered? So we can make distinctions based on standard media market, things like that, that allows us to be more easily compared. If you're going to compare a rating point to the rating point of other media, you need to be using the same demographic that they're using in this particular case, and the same standard media market. So this brings us to a wider point, which is one of, in my opinion, the biggest distinctions between what we did in the past and what we're trying to do with ratings, which is the difference between buying and selling locations versus buying and selling impressions from an audience. And we could see some of the advantages here if we could do that. We've all seen this, or heard about this example of a client really wants a certain location and you tell them it's not available. That often means no sale, call me when it's available. If they are not simply viewing out of home as a near store presence or for its some directional capability, if they're actually viewing out of home the way they view a lot of other local media, which is a way to deliver impressions from their audience, then they are not so linked and tied to a particular location. This is ultimately changing the function. I wouldn't say changing as much as I would say expanding, actually, because the fact is that a near store presence or the directional capability of out of home is huge. Where we read and see more and more on that every day about how important it is to be near point of sale and things like that. Those are huge advantages of our medium. We don't want anybody to not talk about those things. We don't want anybody to not have that message out there. But by expanding the viewed function of the medium, we could take the blinders off. We could actually be selling true ad campaigns with real media budgets instead of one sign that you can put your picture on, and you can forget about the rest, put the rest of your money in television or radio. And ultimately, we're talking about taking blinders off in terms of viewing possible inventory that you're interested in. Nobody buys television ads in a 1 square mile radius from around their car dealership. It's not how television's sold, and it's not really what anybody would want to buy. They understand when buying television that they're buying a certain weight of impressions from an audience in a market, and that will ultimately drive business itself. And we have that same capability as a medium, plus the added benefit of being able to direct people in traffic to different storefronts and things of that nature. So finally here, another distinction between location and audience here is the limited ability to compare with other media. How do you say this location is so good that it's better than the 150 GRPs you're getting from radio. It's sort of a value call. It's a judgment call. It's not easily documented. It's not easily quantifiable. But with ratings, we can now document out-of-home's cost-effective audience delivery relative to other media. So that's just something to put on your head when we're dealing with ratings, when we're looking at ratings, when we're thinking the best way to use them. Is we're ultimately trying to push to expand the use and function of the medium, and using metrics to help us do that. Okay, so right now I'll show you the audience delivery system. I'm going to jump away again, and this system is free to all of our members who have access to panel-by-panel information. And you simply go to tabonline.com here, and we go to member sign-in, and you'll see Audience Delivery System, ADS, and we'll be able to log in right here with our credentials. Once again, email Velvet with any of these password credential requests, and we'll get those to you as soon as possible. Okay, and we're going to see when just logging into the standard ADS system, our first tab, which is the search criteria tab, and here we'll be able to select the market type that we want. We can select the media type, the plant and media type, and ultimately which panels we want. In the next tab, before I do that, the next tab we'll be able to select what we want to know about those panels that we selected. And then finally, we'll be able to generate a report and use the full functionality of Excel or whichever number processing software you have to sort and examine all the different ratings data. Should be noted, I guess, that this isn't the only way to view TAB out-of-home ratings data. We are also in systems such as Telmar and Nielsen as well that people regularly access and use the ratings in as well. This is the free tool that's available though, so this is the one I'll be showing. Okay, so we can start here, and once again, I think this is worth reiterating. Right here, we are selecting where we want our audience to come from, because one of the major distinctions now with ratings is we're selling an audience. So let's from the right tippy top of this whole process, let's think about the audience that's going to be viewing advertising, and if we have any geographic concerns, if our client only wants to be in certain areas, we could select and sort and get rid of any other panels we're not interested in based on their pure geography later. But right now, let's think about where we want our audience to come from. And part of that, it will be what media are we competing against in this particular case, or want to view, the cost per point, for example. If we want to compare cost per point, we need to be in the same standard media market as that of other media. So let's say that our client is also considering television, and we can go to, let's say, Chicago, and you could go through and just find the DMA, this tab here, and we could select which plant. We have lots of different plants in Chicago here. This is where it gets awkward because I got to choose a favorite, but I'm just going to close my eyes and select one. And then we select which plant we want to use and which type of media we want to look at. We have all of our different options here, both from bulletins to digital bulletins, digital posters, junior posters, etc. Also, by the way, I'm not going to select it now, but you can see that we also have our transit packages now in ADS. They're available by selecting up here in the dot up here in the market type tab as well. And I'm just going to leave all these panels in the search. But then we could go to, but we can actually select, refine further by actually selecting this box here. And one of the features that's really cool now is that we could save panel sets. So if you have, common panels that you want to look at, you can upload them and import them here, so you don't have to go through the more arduous process of selecting panels. So, for example, if we wanted to select panels manually, we could do that here, and we wouldn't just have to, hunt and peck through here. There are different filters that you can apply if you're looking for different panels in particular, primary arteries or cross arteries. By different unit numbers, etc., you can select and search this. So it's not, I wouldn't say it's unworkable. It's just a little bit easier to have an idea of which panels you want, have their tab panel IDs, and then you can import those tab panel IDs up there and automatically have these selected. I'm just going to select a few just so we can kind of see what that process looks like. I'm just going to select some random ones. And here it's providing you enough information to be able to tell, the basics of where they are. Like I said, it's not gonna tell you everything, but we are also able to, when we select different panels here, we're also able to, at the end of the process, have a report that have these different panels, and we'll have our tab panel IDs and things like that. So if the first time you have to go through and select panels, or if you want to keep the whole set and select panels based on that, that should be the last time you ever have to do that, as long as you're dealing with the same panels in the future. So anyway, I selected a few random bulletins here, and we'll go to our report parameters tab. I would recommend clicking on all of these. I wish that this was a default, that all of these were checked, but because even if you don't really want to use the information, it doesn't take any longer to print the report. So we're going to be able to see impressions for those 11 panels that I just selected, the end market impressions, the rating points, the population of the people selected, and of the market selected, and percentage composition. And I'll explain percentage composition in a bit. Okay, so then down here, we're able to select the demographics that we want to view. So 18 plus is called Universe in this system. It's called Universe because it's the widest demographic that we have. We don't measure anything below 18. So 18 plus is Universe, so that will be your basic. So if you want to talk about total impressions of these different panels, you're going to be talking about Universe in this case. Okay, but we'll add another demographic here. So basically, we are completely defining the demographic we want to see the information for up here, and then we're adding to selection, which means that we're going to be able to see all of the information for that demographic selected individually. So ultimately, we're not going to be further refining any one demographic down here. We're completely refining it there, and then we're going to see all of this information from those panels based on each demographic. Okay, so it'll be a little bit clearer, hopefully, after I go through with the report here. So what else do I want to do here? You can see we have household by age group. We have race. We have different. There are some different combinations on here in here that are more sort of spread out. You may have to take a look through because some of them are a little bit harder to find because they're not completely spread out as much. So we can see here household income, for example, are in the next tab. So it takes a little bit of just learning, but let's just say 100K plus here. We'll add that to the selection. All right, and then all of this stuff is just panel data. This is just information about the physical constraints and properties of the actual advertising that we're looking at. Okay, so then we're going to go to generate a report. And you could just name this whatever you'd like. You have all of your reports available in My Reports. I believe these are available for 24 hours in this system. But when you generate the report, it will be generated into Excel, so you can save them on your machine, so you don't need to worry about losing any data. And you can keep referencing that for at least a whole quarter, because we do update every quarter. But most things will be fine yearly, because that's when we actually update the circulation information behind most ratings. So you should know if there's going to be changes to any data on the quarter, because that'll be additions and changes, some things are removed, etc. So this will automatically generate for you, but that's based on your browser and based on how often your browser refreshes. If you go to My Reports, a lot of times it'll be done. So we'll take a look at this now. It's a pretty simple system, but it does take a little bit of getting used to. I'm going to go ahead and grab these columns and make them a little bit wider, just so that we can see them a little better. And right here, we could see all of the information for adults 18 plus in the Chicago DMA. And I will go ahead and highlight those, just so that we can make a real quick and easy distinction between that and all the information available for adults in a household with an income of 100K plus over here. All right. So we could see all of our different panels over here. We could see, and then for each panel, we could see the different impressions for them, and the rating points and the percentage comp. Now, I said that I would explain that to you. I think that's the easiest to explain with an example. The percentage composition is the percentage of impressions that are coming from the defined demographic. So we could see that this panel here in row 6, 26.8% of its impressions are coming from people that live in a household that make 100,000 or more each year. So if you have many, many different panels, this can be very useful just using the sheer functionality of, in this case, Excel, just by going through and doing a quick sort here. If for example, if you're selling to a luxury auto dealer, if they really want to be efficient with their ad dollars, they're probably justified in believing that anybody they're advertising who doesn't make a certain amount of money, they're wasting ad dollars on. So you can really show the cost-efficient delivery of the medium by taking a look at this. I mean, we have just from the 11 panels I selected, we have almost a double the amount of percentage comp from the top four than from the bottom. If we had hundreds and hundreds of panels in this selection, there would be even greater distinction, most likely. So so we can see ultimately we're able to quickly tally and sum and average. I like to remind people of the different functionality of just Excel, because it's what a lot of people use. You can quickly sum and average these things just by highlighting them down here. And this is the basic view and what you're going to be seeing when you're looking at ratings data. Over here to the right, you can see different the different metadata involved, including lats and longs. I mentioned earlier that it's best to, the standard practice should be selecting where you want your audience to come from, followed by selecting which places you want the boards to come from at the later process. Here you could see the counties here. So if they only want to buy in Cook County, you could eliminate all the other panels that are not in Cook County here, and then you can go from there to view and select and etc. So yeah, this is the basic ADS. I'm going to jump over to the reach and frequency module right now, just so we can see that in action. It works a little bit differently. It works a little bit differently, but it's built on the same sort of platform, and it's got the same principles here. So we do have some more, a couple more tabs, but they basically say the same thing. So I'm actually going to use this this set of panels as an example. I'm going to go over here and grab the tab panel ID, which is, I guess, over on the, it's usually on the right. Yeah. Oops. Yeah. So I'm going to grab these tab panel IDs here, and then we'll be able to take a look at the reach and frequency. Say we were suggesting all of these bulletins as a package, which may be unlikely, but and this just for an example, I'll grab these tab panel IDs and we'll go over to the reach and frequency module, which is very convenient. You could switch between modules up here. Also, up top at the beginning of the login process, you could select which module you want to be in. So either way, you're good to go. And we'll take a look at the same demographics here. Oh, I thought I selected universe and I didn't. There we go. All right, so in this tab we're selecting the demographics. We have just selected the same two, but you could add as many as you want here, and I hope I wasn't very clear about that in the regular module, but you could add any demographic or any different combination of it, and you could see all the different numbers and everything for each of those as well. I'm going to leave all of this information here in the plan columns, but this is basically what we're going to be able to see in our reach and frequency plan, and we can go ahead and add our panels just by pasting what we copied here. And we can add these panels. It's been successful. So we have 11. You'll see 11 panels here. Those are the 11 that we just looked at. So yes, the flow of it can work pretty conveniently if you start with a pretty wide net when you're looking at the basic system. Say double the number of panels you're considering, or triple, or just all of the panels that you want to consider, and then pick based on the data that you're seeing in the first report. You could pick which panels you want to see, and ultimately which kind of plan you want to look at, and then put those into here so we can generate the plan. It's not a bad idea to over-select even there, so that when you go through and you actually generate the plan, you can, based on their reach and frequency, you can eliminate different panels and ultimately end up with the optimized package that you want to go with. So. All right, and so things will work a little bit differently from here. This is you're actually going to see all of the ratings information right in the system here with the reach and frequency tool. And this is important because reach and frequency is based on a very complex algorithm that's actually comparing the source destinations of all of the audiences of all the different panels, considering their overlap, their duplication, and eliminating that duplication to get, or evaluating that duplication to have an understanding of the actual reach and frequency. And that changes based on time frame, so you need to be able to change that live. So up here with weeks, we could see, I'm going to change this to 8, and we're going to be able to see the numbers change in real time. Right now, we're looking at adults 18 plus up here. We can go to this tab, and we can see the other demographics we selected. Let's say we want to look at just our 100K plus, and we want to see that for 4 weeks. And you could even go as far as changing the time for individual panels here and see how that actually impacts the reach and frequency as well. So we can see our individual panel reach numbers here. We can see the total reach in actual individuals, which are percentages expressed as a percentage of the population, but this is the actual number, our frequency, the TRPs, and for all of this, all of the reach and frequency is going to be for the duration of the total time, but there is a distinction between TRPs, which are weekly, and the planned TRPs, which are multiplied by the number of weeks we're looking at the whole campaign to run. And we can see down here the totals on this, the total reach, total frequency, et cetera, et cetera. So it's pretty straightforward. It's pretty easy. I've sort of, I don't want to say rushed, but I've definitely taken everybody through this very quickly. So please, please call and email me if we want to go through individual demonstrations of this. We also have videos available that show both of these systems in a little bit more detail. But it's just good refresher course to just take a look at both of them and maybe see something we haven't been using and everything. So I'm going to end the demonstration right now. Just I want to get to questions. It's about 3 now. So I want to do at least a few minutes of questions. So please submit any questions that you have at this point, and we're going to do our best to answer those for you. All right, excellent. Okay, so first question is, what is the difference between CBSA and DMA? Okay, so that's a great question. The CBSA stands for Core-Based Statistical Area, and DMA stands for Designated Market Area. The difference is a difference in definition. CBSA is defined by the government, and it is considered the commuting market. It is considered by government sources to be the area in which people live, and the central area of a market where people live and work and commute to and from. This is a very good market definition for our industry. It's also very good to compare with radio. All of the TRPs and in-market impressions and reach and frequency, CPP, cost per point. Those are going to be, when we select the CBSA, we're going to be able to directly compare our numbers along all those lines I just mentioned with that of radio. The DMA is used exclusively by television as its standard. And one of the other differences between CBSA and the DMA is that every county in the USA is part of a DMA. So it's an even dissection of the country without leaving any area out. That is not the case with CBSA. These are based around larger major and minor metropolitan areas. So there's the large parts of the country that are not part of a CBSA, but large areas of the actual continental USA that's not part of a CBSA. But that's a great question. It's something that we need to think about and have an understanding of when we go to select our standard media market. So we have a question here about the estimated costs. There are different estimated costs that that this could be referring to, that this question could be referring to. The estimated costs in planning systems does not come from us. So
actually, Nick, the original planning costs did come from us, if you're referring to Telmar. And the
what about in Nielsen?
Yeah, it came from us originally several years ago. The industry is working on a solution now relative to a new cost estimate for the industry.
Okay. Okay. So in terms of that's great to know. I didn't know that. So in terms of planning costs that are in those, it sounds like there's a solution being worked on to make those costs more accurate. So the third question here is, can you cross-select panel types, i.e. mix bulletins and posters in the same proposal? You cannot do that in the same report. You could do it in the same proposal. You just have to run two separate reports for different media types. So you'll end up with two Excel sheets that you just need to copy and paste into those. So that is something that is on our list of improvements that could be, which is that where we would be minimizing some of the work involved if we could just have our media types be selected in the same report. Would you be able to give a transit example? I can give a transit example. I'm not going to be able to do that now, but I think one of the things that we're going to cover in our next out-of-home office hours will be this. So that's a great question. That's something that we definitely want to see, but we'll do that in the next one. Also, if you would like to see one now, then you could just email me and call me, and we can set that up to do. Okay, so the next question is, so the next question is about reach and frequency and time frames. Can a user get reach and frequency numbers for panels if they are starting on different dates, or does this assume all have the same start and date duration? The reach and frequency, based on how the reach and frequency works, it's not actually considering a particular start date. It's considering the length of time that it's being run. So if you have a campaign that is 10 panels and 5 of them are for 8 weeks, and 5 of them are for 6 weeks, it doesn't matter what time those 6 weeks start. If they could start along with the 8 weeks, or they could come into the after the second week. After 2 weeks, that the 5 panels that are running for 6 weeks can start, and the reach and frequency system considers those the same. So the numbers will be the same in those cases. So, and ultimately they are considered. It's just you're not entering actual start and end dates. So the next question is building. It's called a custom demo in this question, but we're talking about the need to build a proposal with counties that are in different DMAs. You can build custom standard media markets on county lines, yes, and that's available in the rating system as well. To the right of CBSA and DMA and county is custom standard market, and basically it's just going to be a screen that allows you to go through and select individual counties, name that custom standard media market. It's called custom standard because it's still based on county lines, which is a standard market, but it's custom because it's whatever combination of those counties that you want it to be. The major use for this should be if you have a very large client that has its own distribution area or something like that, or you're dealing with a very special case where that custom standard market is meaningful to an advertiser. For example, New York, the 5 boroughs, is an example of that. Otherwise, you run the risk of having ratings, rating points, reach and frequency numbers that are not going to be able to be compared to anything else. They're just going to kind of live in a silo, and they could be meaningful. I mean, they could tell the story they tell, but in terms of comparison, you're going to be a little bit left in the lurch in terms of not having that as an option. Okay, so the email address for usernames, passwords is vross@tabonline.com. vross. How do we get CPP? Okay, so cost per point is just the total cost of the campaign divided by the total number of points you get. So that's going to give you how much cost, how much does it, that's going to tell you how much, how many, you know, how much does each point cost, is basically what CPP is. So when you're totaling,
I'll have to contact her on that one.
You might need to contact her on that one, unless they're not expressed as a percentage. I just need to double check that real quick. No, you don't need to move the decimals. They are already expressed as a percentage. So yeah, that's if they were expressed as a decimal, or not a percentage, then you would have to move the decimal. But yeah, the answer to that is no. We do not need to. The question, I apologize. The question was when totaling TRPs, when the column is totaled, do you have to move the decimal to come up with a number of TRPs? And the answer is no. These are calculated to an extremely high number of decimals, an unnecessary number of decimals, but no, you don't need to move it. You don't need to use all the decimals, but you don't need to use it. Okay. And the final question is CPP based on TRP or GRP? So cost per point is based on both. Real quick about the distinction between TRP and GRP, because this is a point of confusion. We call our rating points in this industry target rating points. There's also the word GRP out there, which when we use the word GRP, it means 18 plus, or the widest TRP possible. But it's not inaccurate to call it a TRP as well, an 18 plus TRP. So if you're talking about any specific demographic, though, we use the word target rating point. So there are cases where we're just talking about 18 plus and we can use the word GRP, but it's just for the most part it's just easier for everyone to just call them TRPs because it's a catch-all that covers both. While GRP sort of only it's only really accurate to at least in our industry refer to GRP as 18 if we're talking about 18 plus, which is not the case in all other media. Some other media just use the word GRP, so it's another difference. But hopefully we could simplify it for our use just by using the word TRP and keeping in mind that an 18 plus TRP is a GRP. Okay, so that is all the questions I have. I know that I touched on a lot of things, and I'm sure there are still a lot of questions. And a lot of times when you go kind of halfway into something, you end up, causing more questions than answering them, or bringing up more questions than answering them. So once again, that's why I'm here, and that's also why we're going to continue doing these. So please email me at. I'm going to actually write that one down. Along with all this. Because my last name is a doozy. Let's see. So you can email me here, at ngurcio@tabonline.com. And I'm going to go ahead and write Velvet's as well. This is not my computer, so I would probably look like a special young man trying to learn how to use one. This is Velvet's, and she's, yeah. So once again, please email me if you have any questions or would like to see any more detail on any of this. And please, once again, check out our website for the tools that I highlighted. And with that, I would just like to ask everyone to have a great afternoon and a great weekend. And I look forward to hearing and speaking with all of you. All right. Thank you.